Hey everyone, John here, and welcome back to the Toy Box. Today I'm going to review the newest Pokemon Center Eevee Evolution plushes. As you may or may not know, I am a huge fan of the Eevee line, so I'm super excited for this review. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the review. Let's start off the review with Vaporeon, the Bubble Jet Pokemon. As always, let's read the Pokédex entry. It prefers beautiful shores. With cells similar to water molecules, it could melt in water. It has evolved to be suitable for an aquatic life. It can invisibly melt away into water. Vaporeon underwent a spontaneous mutation and grew fins and gills that allow it to live underwater. This Pokemon has the ability to freely control water. So let's do a 360-degree view of the plush. So immediately from the front, we can see great detail on the ear fins. We have stitches over here to show the lines. And then of course the blue part up here, and we have them both the same on each side. And there's the other fin. The neck fin is right here. We have white in the front, blue in the back, and just like with the ear fins, we have white stitching on here to show the lines that come out of the neck fin. So those are really good details that go into this plush. And here is the head fin right here, and again we have lines with the stitching, and the stitching is done pretty well on this plush, just like all the Pokemon Center plushes. There's great detail. So this plush is in the sitting form, so you have Vaporeon's front legs right here, but his back legs are going to be curled up like this, so you can't extend them because of the sitting position. So it's not like the earlier Pokemon Center version where you have the standing. And lastly, when we look at the tail, you can see the details here on the back spines, as well as the fish tail that looks just like a mermaid's tail. And there are a lot of details that go into this plush. And at least in my opinion, out of all the Eevee evolutions, Vaporeon has the most detail. So of course the plush is going to have the most details out of all of them, which is pretty cool. So now that we've looked at this plush, let's compare how would Vaporeon compare to the other Vaporeon plushes that have come out. I have the Takatomi plush right here, so we could take a look at them side by side if you have bought the other ones too and would like to see. So obvious differences: the Takatomi plush is a little bigger, just slightly, and it's a little bulkier. And if you look at the neck fin, you have, instead of the white lines that are stitched on here, you have black lines that are kind of silk screened. So it's a little different. It doesn't make a huge difference. It's really the preference. It's on the preference of how you want to portray the plush, because the black lines are more of a pencil drawing when you're drawn, but the white lines are more when you use something textured to show the details. So it really doesn't make much of a difference. So other differences: the neck fin for this one comes out a little more pronounced. You can see the neck fin in the back here barely, but in this one you can see it fully surrounding the head here. And the other main difference is when you turn around. Well, they're both in the sitting position, but the spikes on the Takatomi plush are a little less pronounced. You see they're curved instead of just straight spikes like this. And the tail is curled this way, which is another difference. It's a little easier to put in your room or wherever you display, because sometimes this tail could get in the way. But it's really up to your personal preference. And other than that, that has been the Vaporeon Pokemon Center Poké Plush. Alright, let's move on to Jolteon, the lightning Pokemon. Let's go ahead and read the Pokédex entry. Every hair on its body starts to stand sharply on end if it becomes charged with electricity. It accumulates negative ions in the atmosphere to blast out 10,000 volt lightning bolts. Jolteon cells generate a low level of electricity. This power is amplified by the static electricity of its fur, enabling the Pokemon to drop thunderbolts. The bristling fur is made of electrically charged needles. So this is Jolteon. Let's take a look at let's do a 360-degree view of the plush. And so the first thing to note is that there are simply spikes everywhere. And let's just go straight from the top. We have the head spikes up here. Behind Jolteon's ears, we have more spikes surrounding his head. We have the white spikes coming out from his neck for his collar, just characteristic of every Eevee evolution. And in the back, we have the tail spikes that come out on the end. We have them all right here. So this Pokemon is in the sitting position, just like the Vaporeon. All of these latest Pokemon Eevee evolution plushes are going to be sitting. So this one's just the same. So we have the front legs straight, and on the back legs do not really bend, or do not really straighten up. So we just have them right here. And on the back, I missed it with the Vaporeon plushes, but we have the paw pads. Not the toes, but just the paw pad on the bottom, which is a pretty nice detail, since you normally don't see the bottom of the Pokemon's feet. And so I think the details are really nice on this Pokemon. They're all really well done. The Pokemon plush is very soft. And I also, like I've noted before, I really like the way they do the eyes. They used to silkscreen the eyes, but for other plushes, but I like that they have them stitched in like this. And one thing to note about this particular plush is, at least to me, this plush looks like, this Jolteon looks like he's up to something with this smile like this. I don't know if it seems that way to you, but at least to me, he looks like he's up to something, which is pretty cool. It gives the plush some personality. So now that we've looked at the details for this one, how does this Jolteon compare to the past Jolteons? Well, I happen to have two. I have the previous Pokemon Center Poké Plush for Jolteon, and I also have the Takata Tomy version. So let's go ahead and look at Takata Tomy and our Jolteon first. So pretty much these plushes are almost identical as far as they're both in the sitting position. They both have the similar features. They both have the head spikes behind the ears, the collar, and at the very back they have the spikes at the end. The differences are subtle. This Jolteon, the Takata Tomy Jolteon, is a little bigger than this one, and it is a little bit of a deeper yellow. I don't think it makes much of a difference. It's more the preference in which they use to create the plushes. And I think, and at least to me, they pretty much seem very similar. I think the neck spikes for the Takata Tomy Jolteon are a little hard to manage. This spike is always going to stick up over here, whereas here you can have this one come down. Again, it's really up to you how you like to have your Jolteon. And the other difference is that the ears on the Takata Tomy Jolteon may be a little smaller compared to the head, which I think the Pokemon Center version may be a little more accurate, because Jolteon's ears are really big and to the point where he may look like a rabbit. So that's the comparison between the Pokemon Center and Takata Tomy. So let's take a look at the other Pokemon Center plush, which was released earlier but is no longer available. So the main difference between these two Pokemon plushes is that one is sitting and the other is standing. So that's really the main difference between the two plushes. Other than that, the details are pretty much the same. So it really depends which one that you like more. The only thing that I would say is I don't get the sense of mischief from the standing Pokemon plush like I do with the sitting one. And Even though I like the details of the standing one maybe a little better because he's standing, the plush is a little more flimsy. So he gets knocked off of his perch pretty often in my room. And, well, that's it for the comparison. And this has been the Pokemon Center Jolteon Poké Plush. Last but not least, let's move on to Flareon, the flame Pokemon. Let's go ahead and read the Pokédex entry. It has a flame sac in its body. Its body temperature tops 1650 degrees Fahrenheit before battle. It has a flame bag inside its body. After inhaling deeply, it blows out flames of nearly 3000 degrees Fahrenheit. Flareon's fluffy fur has a functional purpose. It releases heat into the air so that its body does not get excessively hot. This Pokemon's body temperature can rise to a maximum of 1650 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is a pretty hot Pokemon, that's quite literally. It can function as a heater in your house. So let's do a 360 degree view of the plush. The first thing to notice is that Flareon is the fluffiest out of the Eevee evolutions, and very, very fluffy. Let me put it this way. If your purpose in life is to hug a plush, then you definitely need to choose Flareon. That's just how fluffy he is. So on the top we have the first puff, the first fluffy puff right here on his head. Then of course you have the collar that goes all the way around his neck, just like the other two of Eevee evolutions with their own collars. And in the very back, a very fluffy tail. It's very soft. And this one looks just like a flame in the back. So this is pretty nice. And this way, I believe this is probably the nicest Eevee evolution as far as cuteness goes. So they did a really good job here in the ears. The ears are a little fluffier also than the others. And you can see the details sewn in and everything. They have great details on the eyes, like I've mentioned before, and the other features. And this Pokemon, like the others, is also in the sitting position. So while you have the front legs free, these back legs are kind of melted into the rest of Flareon's body. So you don't really have that detail. And which is alright, because most of the time you're going to be sitting him in the front like this anyway. And lastly, just like the others, it's a little hard to see because they are the same color, but we have paw pads on the bottom. So this is the Flareon Pokemon Center Poké Plush. So I also have a couple of Flareon plushes to compare this one to. And the first one from Takata Tomy, you should recognize this plush because he's in every single video. And so we have the Takata Tomy Flareon plush. And as far as comparing these two, the Takata Tomy plush, the fluffiness really covers a larger area. And I've got to give the awards, I've got to award the points to the Takata Tomy plush on fluffiness, because their Flareon really is really fluffy, and the collar takes up so much more room than on the Pokemon Center one, which I think portrays Flareon a little more accurately. And other than that, most of the time, just if you ignore the headband, everything else, they're pretty much the same. Now, while the fur on this Flareon looks a little cleaner, this one has a lot more area. But as far as the quality, you have to keep in mind that I've also owned the Takata Tomy plush a little longer. So if the fur doesn't look as flawless, it's possibly because I've just owned this Flareon a little longer than the others. And that is the comparison with Takata Tomy. So let's take a look at the other Flareon plush that Pokemon Center put out. Just like with Jolteon, the main difference here is that this plush, the Flareon plush, is standing as opposed to sitting. And there are quite a few differences with this one. It looks like the Flareon plush, the standing Flareon plush, is a lot skinnier than the current sitting plush from Pokemon Center. And I think they hit the mark a lot more with the sitting plush, just because this Flareon looks a lot more fluffy and cuddly as compared to the standing one, which looks a little skinnier, and kind of in a way looks like this Flareon may be a little malnourished. But they're both still very fluffy. They have the head puffs, and the puffs from the sitting one are a lot more pronounced, which I think gives the edge to this newer one, and that's the choice that I would make. But for me, I enjoy both, so it's really a matter of personal preference of which plush you like, whether you like the plush standing or whether you like the plush sitting, and that's the choice that I would make. So this has been the Pokemon Center Flareon Poké Plush. Well, this has been the review of the 3 latest Pokemon Center Eevee Evolution plushes. Overall, I really love these 3 plushes, and I'm very happy that I bought them. Now, for the question of, do I buy or not? If you're like me, then you already own at least one version of this plush before, and these are going to be like doubles. In my case, it's more like triples. So it can get pretty expensive. So what I would say is look at the differences between the plushes that I showed in this video, and you can decide for yourself what you want to do. Do you want to buy this plush, or do you want to not buy this plush? If you are new and you don't have any of the Eevee Evolution plushes yet, then what I would do is I would recommend that you get the newest ones, which are the 3 that I reviewed here today. The main reason for that is because you can get them from Pokemon Center right now, and you're guaranteed to get a high quality plush. As you can see, I really like these plushes, and I love the details that went on them, and I think they really hit the mark for each one. So I would recommend you get this one. You could go for the Takata Tomy and the older Pokemon Center plushes, but the problem that you run into is a matter of quality. I bought the Takata Tomy plushes a while after they were released, so I wasn't getting them directly from a Pokemon retailer. I was really getting them from secondhand sites and other people on Amazon, and I did have a few issues as far as quality goes. Some of the plushes that I got were obvious fakes, and some of them, the stitching was just really strange. The eyes looked weird. Some of the parts were painted on, and the paint wasn't even right. Some of them were torn. I had a lot of issues, and it took me a while to actually get the collection of the Takata Tomy plushes that I have today. And I think you can, and another thing is that the older plushes are going to also just be harder to find in general. If you noticed, I compared, for Flareon and Jolteon, I compared the newest plushes to the standing ones, but I didn't do that with Vaporeon. The reason for that was because I never could find the standing Vaporeon from Pokemon Center. I was too late in buying it, and I never got them, and I never was able to get it. So just because I wouldn't want you guys to go through a much harder time, I would probably say get these three newest plushes, and I think they're really nice and that you'll definitely enjoy them. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Check out the Toy Box on social media. Twitter and Instagram links are in the description below. Also check out the links for these plushes on PokemonCenter.com. I also put these links on the description below as well. Leave your comments in the comment section below. What do you think of these plushes? Let me know. I'm always interested. Rate, subscribe, and don't stop playing.